These are the heartbreaking details about how Barry Gibb, the last surviving Bee Gee, lives at 79 years old after losing everyone he loved most. What you're about to discover about his daily reality will shock you. Sir Barry Gibb stands alone today as the sole survivor of one of music's most legendary families. At 79 years old, he carries the weight of an empire built on harmonies that will never sound the same again. The man who once stood center stage flanked by his three brothers now faces each day in a silence that's deafening. When Barry looks in the mirror each morning at his $30 million Miami mansion, he sees the face of a man who has outlived his entire musical family. Maurice died suddenly in 2003. Robin followed in 2012, and Andy, their youngest brother, had already been gone since 1988 when he was just 30 years old. Barry's own words haunt him daily. "I'm the last man standing, and I'll never be able to understand that as I'm the eldest." The guilt that consumes Barry isn't just about surviving. It's about the bitter reality that each of his brothers died during periods when they weren't speaking. This isn't just celebrity drama. This is a man tormented by the knowledge that his last conversations with Maurice, Robin, and Andy were filled with tension instead of love. "My greatest regret is that every brother I've lost was in a moment when we weren't getting on. So I have to live with that, and I'll spend the rest of my life reflecting on that." Picture this. Barry wakes up every day in a house that once echoed with the voices of his brothers planning their next hit. Now those same rooms are filled with memories that cut like knives. He's experiencing what psychologists call survivor's guilt, the torment of wondering why he gets to live while those he loved most are gone. Barry's story of heartbreak began long before he lost his brothers. When he was barely 2 years old, a simple family moment nearly killed him. His mother had made tea and set it on the table. Little Barry climbed up and pulled the teapot down on himself, causing burns so severe that gangrene set in. "I had 20 minutes to live at some point," Barry recalls. In an era before modern burn treatment, doctors didn't expect him to survive. This early brush with death marked the beginning of a lifetime overshadowed by loss. The Gibb brothers built an empire that most families could only dream of. They sold 220 million records worldwide. Barry alone wrote or co-wrote 16 Billboard Hot 100 number ones, sharing the record with John Lennon and Paul McCartney for most consecutive number one hits. Their Saturday Night Fever soundtrack was selling 200,000 copies a day at its peak and stayed at number one for 24 straight weeks. Yet all of this success means nothing to Barry now. The man who helped create the soundtrack to an entire generation's lives can barely listen to his own music anymore. Every melody triggers memories of harmonies that will never be heard again. "When I looked left or right, they weren't there with me," he says, describing the crushing loneliness that followed Robin's death. The most heartbreaking aspect of Barry's current existence is how he's tried to cope with this overwhelming grief. For years after Maurice's sudden death in 2003, Barry struggled with depression so severe that he turned away from music entirely. The art form that had defined his life became a source of pain too intense to bear. "The realization that my brothers weren't standing next to me anymore made me feel pretty isolated." When Robin died in 2012, Barry's world collapsed completely. The surviving twins' death hit him differently than Maurice's sudden passing. Robin had been his closest collaborator, the brother with whom he'd shared countless late-night writing sessions. Maurice was gone in 2 days and we weren't getting on very well. Robin and I functioned musically, but we never functioned in any other way. We were brothers, but we weren't really friends. These words reveal the deepest cut of all. Barry didn't just lose his bandmates, he lost brothers he'd never truly known as friends. The fame that elevated them to global superstars had somehow driven wedges between them that they never managed to remove. So when Robin died, I felt all those things. Guilt, remorse, regret. There was so much more to us, but we didn't see it. Today, Barry lives in relative isolation despite his wealth and status. His La Gorse Country Club mansion boasts 9 bedrooms, 10 full bathrooms, basketball and tennis courts, but it's essentially become a beautiful prison where he serves a life sentence of memories. The house that was purchased for $1.58 million in 1981 and is now worth over $30 million stands as a monument to success that feels hollow. The financial empire the brothers built continues to generate wealth. Barry's net worth sits at approximately $140 million, but money can't buy back the voices that once filled his world with harmony. Every royalty check serves as a reminder of what's been lost rather than what's been gained. Barry's wife Linda has been his lifeline through this dark journey. Married since 1970, she's the woman who literally saved him from the demons that consumed his brothers. My brothers had to deal with their demons, but I was married to a lady who wasn't going to have it. I could bring drugs into the house, but they would end up down the toilet. She never allowed me to go in that direction. Without Linda's intervention, Barry acknowledges he likely would have followed the same destructive path that claimed his brothers' lives. This knowledge adds another layer of complexity to his survivor's guilt. He lived not because he was stronger, but because he had someone who refused to let him self-destruct. At 79, Barry's daily routine has become a careful balance between honoring his brother's memory and finding reasons to continue living. He splits his time between the UK and Miami, but geographical changes can't escape the emotional prison he carries everywhere. His health has declined in recent years, with respiratory issues and the lingering effects of COVID-19 adding physical challenges to his emotional burden. The arthritis that forced the cancellation of a 1994 Bee Gees tour continues to plague him, affecting his back, right hand, and right knee. These physical limitations serve as daily reminders that even his body is betraying him, just as life has betrayed him by taking everyone he loved most. The most poignant aspect of Barry's current existence is his mission to preserve the Bee Gees' legacy. The mission is to keep the music alive regardless of us, regardless of me. One day, like my brothers, I will no longer be around, and I want the music to last. He's currently serving as executive producer on a Bee Gees biopic directed by Ridley Scott, ensuring that their story will be told properly for future generations. But this noble mission comes with its own torture. Barry must relive the greatest and most painful moments of his life, sharing stories about brothers who are no longer here to correct the record or add their perspectives. Every interview, every consultation for the film, forces him to confront the reality that he's speaking for voices that have been silenced forever. The paranormal experiences Barry has described add an eerie dimension to his grief. He's reported seeing Robin walking through his Miami home, appearing as a comforting presence rather than a frightening apparition. Maybe it's in your own head, but it was Robin. Nice experience. It wasn't scary, it was just, ooh, there's Rob. These moments provide brief comfort, but ultimately highlight how desperately he longs for contact with his deceased brothers. Barry's knighthood in 2018 should have been one of the proudest moments of his life. Prince Charles honored him at Buckingham Palace, recognizing his contributions to music and culture. But even this pinnacle achievement was tinged with heartbreak. "If it was not for my brothers, I would not be here," he said, unable to enjoy the honor without acknowledging that it felt incomplete without Maurice, Robin, and Andy beside him. The Kennedy Center Honors in December 2023 provided another bittersweet moment. As Barry stood before an audience of his peers, receiving one of America's highest cultural honors, his acceptance speech revealed the depth of his loneliness. "Thank you all. This is the most incredible honor of my life. Without my brothers, I wouldn't be standing here. I salute Maurice, Robin, and Andy. We were a family of music and a family of love." That phrase, "a family of love," carries particular weight when you consider Barry's admission that they weren't really friends. It suggests that love existed beneath the surface tensions and professional disagreements, making their estrangement even more tragic. The most heartbreaking aspect of Barry's story isn't just that he's alone, it's that he's aware of exactly what went wrong. He recognizes the neurosis that kept them apart, the fame that distorted their relationships, and the wasted opportunities for genuine connection. There was so much more life in us that we didn't attempt, so much neurosis that we could have avoided between us all. This level of self-awareness makes his pain even more acute. Barry doesn't have the luxury of wondering what might have been different. He knows exactly what could have been different, and that knowledge haunts him daily. As Barry approaches his 80th birthday, his life has become a study in contrasts. He's surrounded by luxury but lives with loneliness. He's celebrated worldwide but struggles with depression. He's achieved immortality through his music but faces his own mortality in isolation. The man who once declared, "We're staying alive," in the most famous disco anthem ever recorded, now fights each day to find reasons to keep staying alive himself. His survival has become both a blessing and a curse. A responsibility to preserve his brother's legacy while bearing the unbearable weight of being the only one left to remember their shared dreams and disappointments. Barry Gibb's story at 79 is ultimately about love, the love that created timeless music, the love that was complicated by fame and ego, and the love that endures even after death has silenced the voices that once harmonized with his own. It's heartbreaking because it's real, because it's unfinished, and because it reminds us that even the greatest success in the world can't protect us from the fundamental human experience of loss and regret. In his Miami mansion tonight, Barry Gibb will go to sleep in a house that once rang with laughter and music but now echoes only with memories. Tomorrow, he'll wake up and face another day as the last Bee Gees standing, carrying the weight of an empire built on brotherhood but experienced in solitude. That's not just heartbreaking, it's the cruelest irony imaginable for a man whose greatest gift was making beautiful music with the people he loved most.